Well, hello, listeners. It's been quite a long time since school's let out, and it's time for another episode of You'll Never Talk Alone. I'm your host, Alex Lebel, joined this fine summer evening by Will Caves and Zach Osborne. Guys, how are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Will, how's your summer been going so far?
It's been a nat 20.
Nice.
It's been great.
For those who didn't see the pre-show, which we don't publicize, we were talking about Dungeons and Dragons a lot, so that's a callback to a part that you didn't get to see. And Zach, you've been traveling the world and conquering new lands. So you've had probably the busiest summer out of all of us.
Yeah, it's been nice to be back and not doing nearly as much, but yeah, my travels were cool. Checked a lot of new countries off the travel bucket list. Stayed at a hotel right across the street from where the Hungarian national team plays.
Ooh.
So that's some sort of weird achievement unlocked.
That's the hippest thing anyone on this podcast has done.
Right.
I mean, you have taken over the horn rim glasses and flannel shirt of official podcast hipster.
Well, I got excited when I saw the stadium, and I asked the guy at the check-in desk if that was where the Hungarian national team played. And he sort of hung his head in shame and said, yes. And in kind of broken English said, they're a big steaming pile of dog excrement. And I said, yeah, I know the feeling.
That's true. And we'll get to that later so we can each cry into the microphone about the men's result and then cheer happily about the women's result.
Yay.
So, I mean, there's been a lot of other people that have been having busy summers. Lots of teams around England and around Europe have been splashing cash for deals. I mean, Will, who do you think has had kind of the best transfer window in England or in Europe, whichever one you feel like answering? Because there's been a lot of deals going. There's been a lot of moving, a lot of shaking, a lot of new jerseys.
Yep. I would say in England, I have a soft spot for Leicester, and I feel like them securing Tielemans sounds like a Digimon name, honestly, you say it like that. Tielemans. They're going to be kind of scary this year, I feel like. They've got a really good setup, and, they're solid. They're always solid. I like them a lot. European teams, it's hard. I'm tempted to say like Real Madrid because, they signed all these up-and-coming stars, plus Eden Hazard. So they're going to be good. But I actually like Atletico's signings a lot. I think they're going to be decent. I think João Felix is going to be pretty decent on the big stage, and I think it'll be fun to watch how that plays out in La Liga next year.
That signing made me really, really angry because Atletico is where exciting attacking talents go to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really worried that's going to happen to him. I mean, I know he'll probably get to play the Griezmann role. If Griezmann gets to go, but also if Griezmann stays, he'll probably get punished and never get to play. So it could go really well, but history has shown that it doesn't usually go well, so I'm really worried about that. But if we meet them in the Champions League and it doesn't go well, that's fine with me. Zach, same question. I know you've been traversing the continent, so you might update us on the Hungarian Premier League transfer news, but who in England and in Europe has excited you with their business?
Man, I'm like so unprepared for all of this. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Who has bought who? I don't even know. I haven't.
There's so much going on, but I guess
you're gonna have to tell me because I have nothing to contribute right now, Alex. You're making me look bad.
Well, I think it's a testament to possibly how disappointing, like major deals wise, this summer has been. That even when you were over there wasn't anything catching your fancy. Like there hasn't been a big deal for Bale yet. There hasn't been Neymar leaving yet. There's just been a lot of rumors for all these players, but nothing massive. There's just been a lot of solid business done. Yeah, I guess to echo Will's point, Leicester has done some of the savviest business and could potentially kind of challenge that top 7 hierarchy that they've got going on in the league. But then European wise, I mean, Juventus again, I mean, I know their wage bill is probably astronomical, but transfer fee wise, they just don't ever really have to pay. Or if they do, they arrange kind of player swap deals like the Luca Pellegrini for Spinazzola plus cash. And that's just, they're so savvy in the market. And I think they're going to be really good, especially getting Sarri. Because there's no one just like on the pitch signings, off the pitch, getting a new coach that will bring them style. Yeah, I mean, they're going to be exciting to watch. Probably more so once Ronaldo leaves, because that could be an interesting dynamic of Sarri and Ronaldo. But I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on.
Does Juve also get like a Camel cigarette sponsorship out of that Sarri signing?
I think they kind of have to, or he won't have any money. Right. That interview that went around that showed him, they said that he smoked 60 a day. Mm-hmm. I don't know how he's still alive.
I don't know. It's bizarre.
It's unbelievable. Like that. I don't know how he can talk. I don't know how he's alive. I don't know how he can move without just passing out from not being able to breathe. It's just incredible, really. I guess he's going to have to quit. I don't know if Juve will put up with that. I mean, I know they used to put up with Lippi smoking cigars on the sidelines, but it's 2019. That's not going to happen anymore. But, I mean, one club that has not been that active in the transfer market is
us,
European champions. I mean, we've signed 2 players. Zach, do those 2 young boys, Sepp Vandenberg and soon to be announced Harvey Elliott, are they getting you excited? Do you have high hopes for them? Do you think they'll even play this season at all for the first team?
I hate these kind of signings a lot. I think I joked when we signed Vandergraaf
Generator,
Grace Vanderwall, winner of America's Got Talent. Anyway, is that a real reference I just made? Is that a person?
You did it. That happened.
Okay, I didn't make that up though. There was.
I don't know.
If you didn't, if it's not real, we're going to make it real.
I think she plays the ukulele, and she was like 12. I don't know. I wish I hadn't have just revealed her age.
I really hope this is real. And you just made all this really weirdly specific stuff up.
That would be cool. Anyway, I hate these kind of. I'm anti-gold stars for me so far on this episode. I hate the one for the future signings because their success rate is so low. There's a pretty good chance these guys will just like languish somewhere at our club and never make any kind of impact. I get why these kind of signings are made because you're hoping to hit it out of the park, but most of the time you don't. And most of the time these signings have no influence on the success of the club in the long term. So no, I'm not excited. I hope one of them will prove me wrong. But yeah, I don't really care. Ugh, that felt bad. All of this has felt bad. Someone say smarter things.
Do you prefer which do you prefer more? The one for the future signings or the like a new signings?
Ugh, they're both so terrible. I mean, if we're talking about James Milner like a new signing, that's one thing. But if we're talking about Adam Lallana like a new signing, give me this man bun kid all day long.
No.
Will, are you feeling jazzed about these young lads that are coming in to, I don't know, go to middle school?
Well, look, we've had a few recent one for the future signings. I'll name two of them. One was Raheem Sterling, who I can hear our fan base hissing when I say his name, but he turned out all right.
Steady.
Right. He turned out all right, and then also Joe Gomez was one of the same kind of signings, and so it's not like we haven't had at least decent luck with those. But then for every Joe Gomez, you have, your ones that should work out but don't, like Harry Wilson. So I mean, it's we'll see. He's Vanderpump, whatever his name is, has the size to compete. I mean, he's gigantic. If you watch the video, the Inside Liverpool training video, he's taller than Klopp, who is not short at all. And so, if he can put some bulk on, he may be all right. It's too early to say for Elliott, but we'll see. It's in terms of the like a new signing guys. I go back and forth between my Adam Lallana hatred and, well, not hatred, but just dislike, because I do appreciate that he was our best player for a couple of seasons, but that was a long time ago.
I think you mean Daze.
Yes, you're right. For a few days. And then I'm pumped about Ox being back, though. It's going to be great. A lot of people want a new signing in that position, but Ox is better than Henderson in playing that attacking midfielder role. And I think that if he's back at the same level he was when he got injured, we're perfect. Chef's kiss. I love Ox.
Yeah, going back to that video, that was the first thing Klopp said to Vandenberg when he saw him, when he was giving him a hug. It was like, hello, oh, you're so tall. So, yeah, we're definitely adding some size. Will, do you think it is, I don't want to say intentional, but does it mark a shift in strategy that, I mean, we've talked about before that we haven't, in the past few seasons, been a club to bring through young players that often. And yes, we are coming off this European Cup win, but the signings are not those of, like, let's consolidate our place. They're more like, let's build more of a foundation to replace these players when they're done in the future. Do you think we're going to start just continually signing younger players from now on, or do you still think we've got kind of a surprise in our back pocket once kind of some of these people are back from vacation or back from international tournaments?
I think that we've got a long way to. The season feels like it's next week, but we actually have a decent ways to go in terms of the transfer market. I think Klopp trusts his players, and I think that the guys that we've got right now are good enough to repeat. Of course, anybody with eyes can see that all it's going to take is an injury to Van Dijk or Salah or Mane, a long-term injury, and we're just screwed. But it's hard to sign that, like a backup player of that quality that's going to be okay being a backup. And so I think they're biding their time. You also have to think that you had this summer alone, you had the Nations League or whatever it was, the European Nations League. You had the Copa America. You had the Gold Cup, who I know we're dying to sign people from the Gold Cup, and the African Cup of Nations. We're all going on this summer. And so, sure, the European guys have been done for a minute, but like AFCON is still going on. Copa America finished like last night, and the Women's World Cup is just done, so we can't sign Rapinoe yet. And so I feel like something big is coming. It's just we're not in a hurry. We may already have it done. We're just waiting on whatever, waiting on a physical, waiting on something else. I'm maybe when we have this conversation on August 9th and we still haven't signed anybody, I start to worry. But right now we're good.
Zach, kind of the same question. I know we've tended to work in the shadows to land these big deals of late, where it's all of a sudden you wake up and the club have announced somebody, and it kind of happened with the Vandenberg deal that way. But even last season with Fabinho and kind of with Allison and kind of with Keita, where it was like, oh, it's the deal's dead, and then all of a sudden they're our player. Do you think that is something we can expect, or do you think that we're really just like, all right, we're good enough, let's just bring in a bunch of James Milner's children?
My gut feeling is that we're not going to make any marquee signings this summer.
Zach is hit mid-season form already.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not in like super panic mode, alarmist about that fact. That's just what my gut feeling tells me. Mm-hmm. Now, Alex, you're right in that we've kind of changed the way we do business, at least in terms of transfer sagas at Liverpool really don't play out in the media the way they used to. And a lot of times we are in the dark, or at least in the recent past, we've made some big marquee signings out of nowhere, like you mentioned. That could certainly happen. But I also feel like last summer there was an urgency and an expectation about fixing some of the weaknesses in the team in order to compete, right now. And there isn't that same sense of urgency and expectation this summer, because we do kind of have the core of what we need there. And we have players coming back from injury or players that were not in good form and not fully healthy last season that may have the chance to be this season. So there are going to be some like a new signing type players for sure. But I'll be disappointed if we make it through the summer and haven't signed anyone big. But I still think I'll be confident that we will challenge both domestically and in Europe, even if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to remember this summer, especially, that we still have a ridiculously good squad already. I'm sure we have some weak points, but they're all kind of on the bench already. So there hasn't been as much urgency to be like, okay, we better get someone in. And I know it's just kind of the fan addiction to good news that everybody wants a signing. And it's completely understandable to want to build on this, because we're seeing teams around us also strengthen with players, including a team that theoretically has a transfer ban who have made some signings. It's hard to be too upset or worried, because we're in a good position, but also it is kind of upsetting and worrying that it hasn't happened yet. But it's also knowing that we're probably doing a bunch of stuff in the background, and there's been a bunch of conflicting reports. Kind of the press line that has been given out by the club hasn't really made much sense over the course of the summer. I mean, it started off with we're not just going to rest on our laurels. This is good, but we want to continue to be good and continue to win stuff like this and have nights like this. And then it's turned into, well, we don't really need anybody. We're just going to sign a bunch of people for the future. And now we want someone quality to rotate. And so who really knows what's going on?
You want to hear my conspiracy theory?
I would love to hear your conspiracy theory.
My conspiracy theory is that the LFC social media team is still in the midst of a Madrid victory lap to keep us buzzing and our spirits really high, so that we're not disappointed over the course of the window when we don't sign anyone big. Because it's primed my brain every time I see a new video, every time I see 30 days ago we were parading through the streets, those sorts of things. I'm right back to that high of being the champions of Europe, and I'm not thinking about the fact that we're not doing much right now. And I feel like there's probably a lot of fans who get the same little shot of adrenaline and pure joy every time. And I feel like it hasn't yet. There have been hints of shifting the social media strategy towards promoting the preseason, but still we're getting little tidbits from Madrid, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I love it. Keep it coming. I'm going to be celebrating this for, the next calendar year at least, but my conspiracy theory is that it is intentional.
I mean, it would make sense. I mean, we might learn from the team we beat in the final. They didn't make any signings. And that could be something we're thinking about, that the togetherness and the unity of the squad could be it could be the ultimate, like a new signing, of having everyone leveling up their social links together. And Zach, you mentioned preseason. We've got kind of our first slew of games coming up. I actually think we're playing Tranmere this Thursday, the 11th. Should be a real barn burner. But Will, what are you looking forward to seeing in preseason? I mean, also keep in mind that we have signed players during preseason. They've joined up with the squad. I mean, Genie kind of did that. I think some others have done that. So that is a legitimate answer to this question. Is someone exciting like Nicolas Pepe coming in after the Ivory Coast are eliminated or have won the tournament? But are there any players you're looking forward to seeing, or just looking forward to watching us play again, since it's been like 48 hours since there's been a soccer game on TV?
I'm excited. Well, we all know what's going to happen as soon as I bring this person up, but I want Harry Wilson to succeed so bad. And he's going to destroy everybody in preseason, then immediately go back on loan to like Leeds or something, and it's going to suck. But I'm excited to see him back in red. I'd like, Vandenberg will be good to see, as well as Elliott. And I'm just ready to see the main guys. I'm ready to see Allison again. I'm ready to see Robbo again. Virgil. Like I'm pumped to see them start to integrate back into the side. The first day that Sadio Mane walks back into training will be when I feel like the season has started. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, that could be probably the Sevilla or Sporting Lisbon games in America, since his AFCON just ended. Same with Salah and Bobby and Allison. So unfortunately, we might have to wait a little while before we get a lot of those first teamers back. But Zach, are you looking forward to any of our youngsters coming through? I mean, they've been training with the first team since I think there were only really 8 players that were in the squad in Madrid that were back. So is there anyone that tickles your fancy, or are you just excited to see the new signings we've actually made? Although technically Elliott is not on the team yet, but everyone is speaking like it's done, so we're just going to assume that he and his weird haircut will be on the team shortly. What are you looking forward to?
You said there's 8 people from the Madrid team that are back?
Well,
I think so.
6, but then Milner makes 8.
Okay, is Shaqiri there?
He just got back, but he's also hurt.
He's hurt. Okay. What about Origi?
He just came back.
And he's all gravy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see Divock score a bunch more goals in preseason, because it's going to be his time to shine. I want to continue to follow this weird story and know, like, is Divock really back? Like, is he someone we can count on in the long term? I don't know. Or are we going to ship him off? What's happening?
I mean, it seems like he's about to sign a new deal.
Okay.
I think he's staying.
I think he's staying too. He's getting a statue, so why would he go anywhere else?
Right. And didn't we see Divock play in preseason?
We did. We saw him and Joel Matip going through some extra fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And he made Divock laugh.
Oh, I forgot. Joe Gomez will be playing a lot in preseason, I bet. He'll be fun to watch to see if he's fully back. And Ox.
And Brewster.
Oh, yeah. And Brewster. Yeah, freaking Brewster. It's going to be great.
I mean, he's been in a lot of marketing material lately, so it seems like we're banking on him to be definitely in and around at least the substitutes bench this season.
He's such a goofy little dude. Like,
Yeah.
he just looks so goofy.
He's like one of the few youth players, like in England or anywhere really, that's like, he is young. I think he just turned 18 or 19,
Mm-hmm.
and he absolutely looks it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some that look older and like have kind of bulked up and have started to compete on like the men's level, but he's still like a scrawny little kid with a lot of skill. But I'm excited to see him, hoping he can stay healthy. And I mean, it's also exciting because we've mentioned the Duncan Glatzel goal scoring machine that has romped through the youth leagues, and they've been training with the first team. So I'm wondering if they're going to get to play or if they'll even go to the United States on tour. But we'll see, and we'll see what happens when everybody starts coming back in from their vacations, or people start getting hurt, people don't start getting hurt. I mean, who knows when Shaqiri will be back? It sounds like he's missing most of preseason. Who knows when Naby will be back? That injury has just been handled so poorly. And AFCON certainly didn't help. So we'll see. There might have to be some solutions found to some problems that without answers. But yeah, it'll be exciting. Confirming we do play Tranmere. So I guess before then, we'll have to work out in our thread which one of us is paying for LFC TV to watch the preseason games and sharing the login. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what's been going on with Liverpool over the summer. We'll kind of broaden the scope a little bit because, as Will mentioned earlier, there has been a heck of a lot of international soccer going on this summer. I mean, there's been the Nations League, there's been the Under-20 World Cup, there's been the U21 Euros, there's been AFCON, there's been Copa America, it's been the Women's World Cup. Will, what's been your favorite tournament so far?
It feels like the obvious answer to say the Women's World Cup, but it's the Women's World Cup. I have watched a ton of AFCON, though, and live on BN Sport. And I won't say that the quality of AFCON is quite what I hoped it would be, but it's real fun to watch. And there's so many vuvuzelas. It's great. Shades of 2010.
And on crystal clear 360p on BN Sports.
Right. Right. It's so, like, they're just like specks on the field. Even when you zoom in, they just look like FIFA 2003 people. It's just really bad. But it has been fun to see some of those players. Algeria has been really fun to watch. Who else have I watched? I've watched most of them. I got real upset in as Nigeria was playing somebody, and like it was a VAR situation that I got upset at. Anyway, I've watched way too much AFCON, but that's been a really fun tournament for me. Zach, go ahead. I'll stop rambling now.
I mean, yeah, the correct answer is Women's World Cup. The only other tournament you mentioned that I've seen any of was, a few of the Gold Cup matches. Mm-hmm. Saw highlights from Copa America because, Firmino was scoring for fun. And Alison Becker had how many clean sheets in a row? Some stupid.
All of them.
All of them, yeah. That's the answer.
Best goalkeeper in the world. That's not just like a funny anymore. It's not one of the best goalkeepers in the world. He's the best keeper in the world.
I mean, 3 Golden Gloves.
Yeah.
In one season. Like, he didn't even have that many hands.
That's true. What's he going to do with all the gloves?
This monster, fertile, new... I mean, he just had another child, so we know it's fertile. It's just his monster dong.
We'll find out more on YNTA After Dark. We'll talk about that.
But yeah, Women's World Cup was phenomenal. One thing I really enjoy is just how into the U.S. Women's National Team my wife is. Like it's almost insulting how much trouble I have getting her into Liverpool and getting her to sit down and watch a Liverpool match with me, but she knows like the first, middle, and last names of every player on the U.S. women's national team. She, is recording every public appearance they're making and like watching their Instagram stories from their celebrations in the locker room. It's adorable. And of course I support it because it's the beautiful game and my wife is watching it and she's like asking me about, wait, when do they get a PK versus a free kick? And what's the VAR all about? And I very much enjoyed these experiences of having those conversations and watching her get excited about soccer. But now I have to make that translate into her knowing any Liverpool players beyond Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk.
You did say that your daughter has picked up quite a fun habit whenever a goal is scored, right?
Oh yeah, we had the thing where she heard me celebrating in the wake of the Champions League and picked up on the name Divock Origi, and she can say it with sort of astounding clarity for a 2-year-old. But now she shouts his name whenever anyone scores. It doesn't matter who. If we are celebrating a goal, it could be I think the Rose Lavelle goal for instance, which was freaking phenomenal. She was the best player of the whole tournament, I thought.
Oh yeah.
Even including Rapinoe, Lavelle was the standout for me. Anyway, Rose Lavelle scores. My wife jumps up off the couch. She's running around celebrating, and my little girl is just saying, Divock Origi! In that sing-songy way. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that is absolutely the appropriate response to have to a goal. And I think we've all decided as a podcast to do that whenever anyone scores as well.
Anyone.
Just to remind ourselves that we won the European Cup. The Women's World Cup was great. The U.S. are champs. You can't not be happy about that. Great double negative there. But I think I've mentioned it before. I'm always partial to the youth tournaments. The Under-20 World Cup, I really enjoyed that. A lot of great talent on display. That would be kind of that and the Under-21 Euros, which is my favorite tournament of all time. Would be kind of the level of player, like, okay, we're going to sign one technically for the future, but they're already playing a lot of first team right now. They're already pretty good. Like, I would love for us, if we're going to make these kind of signings, to go sign a bunch of people from those tournaments. But yeah, it was also interesting to see the Under-20 World Cup was the first tournament of the summer. So this was when a lot of the new rules that they've done were enacted. So you got to see goal kicks passed inside the box, or players forced to go off at the nearest possible exit point for a substitution, which they kind of stopped really enforcing. But it was definitely a precursor to the issues that they had at the Women's World Cup of the VAR calling back keepers moving even remotely off their line. That actually ended up costing New Zealand against Colombia in a penalty shootout. So that was interesting. But the Under-21 Euros were also great. I mean, Spain were incredible. Germany were efficient. A lot of incredible players on display. I mean, Romania has got a ridiculous generation coming through. That's kind of bound to happen when a lot of them come from a team that Georgie Haji owns / technical directs / manages. So, yeah, this is a lot to look forward to, and roll on 2 years from now when those tournaments roll around. I think those are all the tournaments. I mean, we don't really have to talk about the U.S. men's national team.
Wait, so I was there. I was in Poland during that tournament, right?
Yeah, I think you were for the knockout stages.
I saw no evidence of that competition happening.
There was nobody at any of the games, so it kind of makes sense. I don't think anyone really knew it was happening. They were also playing in a lot of the smaller cities.
Yeah, that's what I was just reading. Yeah.
There was one city that I think it was two words, but it just looked like a cat had walked across someone's keyboard and named the city.
Bielsko-Biala?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That
Hey,
that is
you guys want to learn to say something cool in Polish?
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
The equivalent of saying like cool or that's good is spoko spoko.
Mm.
That's awesome.
Spoko spoko.
That is the new catchphrase of "You'll Never Talk Alone."
Mhm.
The Spoko Spokoist podcast around. I mean, I think that'll about do it for us. We'll mention the Portuguese under-20 national team. That was really disappointing, even though they have a bunch of good players. So go look up their roster and then sign them to your manager mode. Anyone who plays FIFA, because they'll do you good. Well, that is the end of this. I guess it's the first summer episode we've done this summer. I mean, because not a lot has happened. We haven't really had big names to talk about joining the team, and we're all still drunk from champagne off of the Champions League win. So we've been kind of out of commission, but we'll be back. We'll be here making more episodes for your ear holes. We should have everybody back at some point and do a nice roundtable discussion about something. Will, Zach, thanks for joining me this fine evening.
Happy to do it.
Of course. It was a great time.
Zach, I know it's been a while since you've been on the podcast.
You had to get that in there. Right?
Listener, let us know how you're doing this summer. Let us know if you're happy, sad, overjoyed, despondent about our transfer business. And let us know your score predictions of all of our weird preseason games where we find new teams to play against every other day.
If you happen to be the person that broke into Daniel Sturridge's home and stole his dog, we beseech you to return it, please. And also, you're a total asshole.
Yeah, that's a really weird thing to do. Give the dang dog back.
Amen.